everybody. You know, it's not just Wikileaks that's created a revolution in terms of how to look at secrecy, what's required to be kept secret, and the vast area of exceptions to classical areas of secrecy. I say it's not just Wikileaks because there's lots of things that we all indulge in and technologies we've all been using for some time that would make George Orwell and his Brave New World 1984 shot out of his skull. You know, the 1984 vision of Orwell was the way authoritarian states would move and develop to the Big Brother situation, not this ridiculous Big Brother on television these days, but where when you're brushing your teeth and looking at your face in the mirror in the morning, Big Brother's watching you, and when you get into bed with your wife, maybe it's a girlfriend, you don't want people to know about it, the Big Brother's watching, and you get into a person at work and so on. He would have been amazed. He would have been amazed at the fact that these days you don't need the Big Brother. The technologies are used somewhat, the CCTV cameras, they have a certain social as well as a necessary security reason. But we do it all ourselves with the new technology. You see, intelligence services look for two main things, whether they are the institutionalized intelligence service of government or the private eyes. They want your photo and they want your location. So you provide this yourselves. Increasingly everybody's getting on Facebook and you post your latest photograph as you develop, as you socialize, and with your friends you do far more. You give other information which security services are always dreaming to find out about you, your likes and your dislikes, and where you shop and what books you want to read, and so on. You're providing it all when you get onto Facebook, as everybody is doing, and any thought you put down on Twitter. In terms of your location, you're all carrying this with you now. So if there is an interest in you from the intelligence service of your own country, or maybe this one, they know exactly where you are and where you're visiting and where you're moving, because you all carry this device, the mobile phone, which can show exactly where you are, and never mind the messages you send, or when you speak, that goes up into the ether and is captured on the satellite phone. So the holy grail of the secret services is your photo and your location. And George Orwell doesn't have to dream up Big Brother watching us, because more and more people provide that themselves. As we provide through the banking details and the use of our credit cards, every single place we visit and shop at, we don't use money anymore, though everything's known about us. It can create a fertile field in terms of invasion of secrecy, but it also has its boomerang effect on the intelligence services, because there's something called Google Earth. And Google Earth will show you exactly where the CIA buildings are outside of Washington, or where the South African intelligence services headquarters are. And in the past, any counter-spy or anybody interested in terms of the espionage would have to spend huge resources and at great risk going in the environment of the Langley CIA headquarters to just try and see what the main gate looks like. You get everything on Google Earth. And of course they get everything on you as well, because where you live, where you work, your own phone, your own house is on Google Earth. So I'm saying to everybody here, it's not just Wikileaks, and I welcome Wikileaks, because the more information there is, the greater the counter-control on the people that are doing the watching that need to defend national security, but in the sense that it's really needed these days. Because you can go to prison for 25 years and you might be executed in many countries. In the sort of countries of North Africa where our friends come from Morocco, we know what they've just been through and how they've broken down the doors of police state. But in police states and in so-called democracies, where if you attempt to find out the locality and photograph or draw it, you're in very serious trouble, including in South Africa. And yet, it's there, and it's in the public domain, care of Google Earth. And I can assure you that if you look at the mandate and the remit and the security laws and the penalties of virtually every country, they're still living in the past, before Google Earth, before the technology. We, even in our country, it's a young democracy with a fantastic constitution and a Bill of Rights. And you can get into very serious trouble and will, in terms of the passing of a new bill, which deviates from all the nice constitutional and Bill of Rights safeguards. And one of those aspects would be if you do the equivalent of taking a photograph outside the CIA headquarters, and you try to do it in this country, and people know where these offices are, you'll get into incredibly serious trouble in terms of the existing Act, which is a 1982 Act and is needed to be revised, and even in terms of the new Act. And if Mr. Dormer was here, it would have been very interesting to debate with him in terms of the fact that since you can look up on Google Earth where our intelligence service headquarters are and have this bird's eye view of a huge area with its buildings and satellites. If you go to that place and it's on a public road and it's called the farm and it's set way back off the main road outside Pretoria, one of the main roads, and you just take a photograph of the gate, you're in very serious trouble. And we see the culture and the ethos of security services and intelligence services that they don't want to wake up. And I love this country, and I've got respect for good people, men and women, who work in these services. And I'm not saying they're all good, by no means. But you have very respectable people doing that work and out of patriotic commitment, and you'll have that all over our continent here of Africa and elsewhere. But where you don't have the correct checks and balances, not just your constitution, which can be ignored in terms of secret services or your Bill of Rights, but in terms of growing a real professional ethic in the security and intelligence services, inculcating a new culture that is required for the 21st century, not the Cold War culture. And I don't just mean of Stalinism. We talk about McCarthyism of the States. We've seen what's happened in Britain under Her Majesty's government with the so-called weapons of mass destruction. I know the individuals at the highest level and in between who are involved in this facade, and some very good people who were being misused by the politicians. And the abuse was there because the intelligence services, in most instances, instead of being instead of being politically neutral and non-partisan, become involved in this culture and ethos of serving politicians, as you saw with Tony Blair, as you saw with George W. Bush. So let's not just talk about corruption and corrupt practices and abuses in Africa or Asia or Latin America. It happens in the most advanced and mature democracies. So given that I'm in my 10 seconds, if I had, as I have now, just 10 seconds to say to you good people, what is it that you have to do? It's not just the wonderful landscaping of controls and checks and balances, constitutions, Bill of Rights, etc. It's how do you get the real professionalism so that there's a culture, which is a culture about serving your people, not serving the politician, not serving secrecy, but understanding that there are narrower aspects of secrecy in the world today. Thank you.